I'm Dr. Ted Cibik. I'm a doctor of traditional naturopathic medicine. I'm a doctor of classical Chinese medicine, which differs from TCM. I'm also a doctor in medical Qigong and have a PhD in exercise science. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the energetics of trees. This is not going to be a course on how to plant trees or a course on how to forest trees or I'm not going to go out there with a chainsaw and cut down any trees, thank God. But this is going to be a course on the energetics of trees and how to match the energetics of trees to your particular energetic signature. And for those of you who don't know what I mean, every living being has an energetic signature. Every little snail, every little earthworm, every tree, every bush, every shrub, every flower, every reptile has a unique energetic signature that even other people or other genres, other species within, it's still energetically independent. And as my teacher used to say, there is no two minds that have ever been created the same as it comes to human nature, and there never will be. And the uniqueness of your mind, your vibration, and your energetic signature is yours and yours alone and will never, ever, ever be repeated in history. So when we look at trees, they are also unique. And being able to assess the energetic signature is something that we're going to be teaching you how to basically use that information to therapeutically and synergistically combine your energies for energetic balance. And we're going to do that through a structure of yin and yang, because this is classical Chinese medicine. And we're going to be teaching you which trees predominantly have a characteristic of yin and yang, as well as how to assess, even, for example, like an oak tree is classically a very yin tree because it grows very slowly. Something that grows very fast, like a poplar, that would be very yang. And the way that you could look at that is the growth rings. So if you see really tight, tiny growth rings, then that's a very yin-based tree. And if you see growth rings that are very far apart, that's a very yang-based tree. So foundationally, that's where we're at. But each tree has an energetic signature unique. So you can go into a grove of, for example, of beech trees or oak trees or hickory trees, and each tree would have a completely different energetic signature, albeit slightly, but it would have a different energetic signature. And so we're going to teach you how to evaluate that and how to sync up from a Taoist perspective. Now, what does a Taoist perspective mean? Well, if you look historically, there are a lot of references to trees. There is, if you look at the bayou tree in Africa, where they call it the tree of life. And there's many trees of life throughout history. There's trees of life in India. There's trees of life in Native American. There's trees of life in Mayan culture. And so throughout the world, there's always been this affinity to trees explaining various types of kingdoms and realms and gods and all the different pantheons. Even the Norse, which is probably one of the most famous, is where Odin hung from the tree for 9 days to gain enlightenment and wisdom. And from that, he built Asgard, and then he built all the lower realms once he had the wisdom of the tree. And I can't pronounce the Norse name. I apologize. It's a difficult language for me. I can speak Chinese, but I can't speak Norse. Anyway, so, but the idea is this is very much a part of our historic culture and how people would explain religion. If you think about Jesus, what was he basically crucified on but a tree, a cross, right? So throughout history, there is a long, long tillage. The ancient Celts would use oak trees, prepping for battle to gain strength in warfare. And we all know what fierce warriors they were historically, beating back the Romans and so forth. So there is this affinity towards trees throughout all written history that we know of, except the Taoists. And I've always found that very interesting because I consider myself a Taoist. But the Taoists really, how to put it succinctly, now, when you hear the word Taoist today, you often may think of religious Taoism, but that's not the original Taoist thinking and orientation. That came by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands of years later. The original Taoists were people that were trying to become attuned to nature, not only for survival, but to understand how to fish, how to hunt better, how to plant crops better, how to basically coexist with nature in a harmonious way so that there wasn't so much hardship and strife and even death. And so they were trying to understand the cycles of nature, which typically in mankind, the cycles of nature are 7 and 8, 7 for women, 8 for men. And each of those cycles means a new generation of thoughts, ideas, and development. So they would watch these things in nature. They would watch the stars, for example, and they would watch how and when the leaves left the tree on the deciduous trees. They would watch when the trees returned to bud. They would watch when flowers would start to come up. And so they would kind of begin to note these cycles of life and plan accordingly. So it's very interesting to me that of all the religions in the world, Taoists really do not have an affinity to a tree. They do not have any myths about trees because, and here's the key point, Taoism in its original sense is a philosophical and spiritual tradition. It has nothing to do with religion. And they have nothing to do with pantheons of gods or even goddesses. So they really look at a deep reverence for the natural world, including trees, and see them as essential for cultivating balance and harmony in life. So they see trees as everything up on their disposal is something to utilize as a tool, not only for wellness, but also for gaining enlightenment.